the times when people told me, like, you gotta get, your body weight of protein a day, I thought, that's stupid. How am I ever gonna get that? That's insane. I'm like, you gotta eat meat. And what's crazy is I thought it's super expensive. In reality, it's not. A lean ground turkey. Look at this beautiful sunrise. Look at the sky. I recently saw something that's called the long-lasting frozen bread. How does that even make any sense? A long-lasting frozen bread, think about it. We eat this stuff, and let's imagine we take a Snickers bar. We take that Snickers bar, it's made in a lab, probably with plastics. It goes down our wet mouths, disgusting esophagus, it gets pushed down, and a slimy esophagus, then flops onto your stomach acid, and it like gurgles there probably, like, and, and so that stomach acid goes ahead and it breaks this down, this piece of Snickers bar. And then your stomach pushes it down to the intestine. So your intestine takes it and it absorbs it. So it just sucks it into your body. And then it gets released in your bloodstream. So that Snickers bar made in a plastic lab becomes a part of your bloodstream. Think about how crazy that is. So would you rather have something that's natural, like some kind of fresh meat in your bloodstream, or would you rather have a Snickers bar? Nowadays, if you say diet, it shouldn't even be called that. It should be called normal foods, because 70, 80 years ago, a diet that we have, like paleo, warrior, carnivore, that was just normal foods. And now our food's degraded to such a degree to where we have to use diets to simply just stay normal.
Despite not being given any sugars until I was 5 years old, the European tradition of drinking tea with something sweet got to me eventually, and I became a pretty heavy user of sugars. Recently, I've tamed this addiction very simply by replacing the artificial sugars with fruit sugars. Whenever I felt an urge to eat something sweet, I'd go to the store and I'd buy my favorite fruit, anything that I wanted. A lot of people don't know something though. The fruits have labels, and the little numbers on the fruit mean something. Let me explain. Unknown by most. Super useful, probably the most useful thing you could use when shopping for fruits or vegetables. The numbers on the chart represent different things, so a 3 or a 4 means that the fruit is conventionally grown, like this orange that I showed you before. This means it could have been sprayed with pesticides. It might have not been. Then you have the 9. The 9 represents that the fruit is organic, and that means that it hasn't been used by pesticides. And finally, the 8 represents that the fruit has been genetically modified, definitely sprayed with pesticides.
So if you take a look at these fruit, for example, apples, something with a skinny peel, or maybe, for example, pears, that are have a very thin layer of outer protection, they're usually more exposed versus something that's like thickly, like avocados, which aren't as bad. The thick peel is better. So if you took a look, for example, this pear, it starts with a 4, which means it's conventionally grown. Same with an apple, which is a 3. So 3 or 4s are usually what you're gonna find, which is the most common. So whenever you are in a store, pay attention to it. I want you to walk up to a fruit, look at it, and see if it has a 4 or a 3 or something that's even worse. And let's keep going. So now what I want to talk about is I used to get these good like snacks that are nuts. So nuts, for example, I liked a lot of, like in Russia, you would eat a lot of kernel seeds. So kernel seeds, the problem is they have a lot of different oils. They have kernel oils, and kernel oils are, if you look, are really not healthy. About my cooking video, you should cook with olive oil. So especially these, they have not only kernel oils, they have a lot of soy in them. And soy, I'll plug it in, the Estrogeneration book is estrogenic. So this is not the best. Soy and kernel flour is not the best. So I'll show you the different varieties of nuts that you can have, which are actually not too bad. You've had a busy day, you're playing, some kind of sport, and now you want to have a quick, refreshing snack. What would you do? You would go to a locker, and you'd go ahead, and you'd see what's inside. So inside, you have the nuts that you bought from a local store or a gas station. And you're thinking, oh, what should I do? So, before we go on, I want to explain a little bit about nuts. Nuts are good, but the fact that they have canola oils, the fact that they have seed oils, that's not good. I'm not even talking about soy. So, these nuts, alright, no laughing, but anyway, so these nuts have oil inflammatories, and also they're oftentimes cooked in something that's known as hexane, which is a toxic chemical used in your laundry detergent. In your laundry detergent, which if consumed in a lot of portions, it can go ahead and attack and destroy your nerve cells. That's not good. That's not what we want. And that's even worse. What's crazy is, again, I always say it, it's all about commerce, because why they add this stuff is to make stuff like oatmeal, sometimes even if it's bad quality, to make it more puffy. Because instead of just adding more oatmeal, that's more expensive. So Always keep that in mind. Obviously, in small doses, like, oh, let me just have a pack of nuts. What's gonna happen? But then when you eat that pack of nuts and you do it over a whole lifetime, and you eat, 10,000 packs of nuts over your lifetime, then it's a huge, huge difference. And stuff like, GMO grown seeds that go in those nut packets. So that's like a whole different story, but it's not good. Always choose your nuts carefully. Now, I'm super authentic and I want people to really understand this. So I got 3 packs of nuts. And before I thought, well, I like nuts. They're super good, super healthy, until I actually looked at the packaging. The number one key, what you do is you have to look at the back. So let's take these, for example, super popular American nuts. I see them like everywhere you go. So looks healthy, you got a few, what are they called? M&Ms, a little bit of, peanuts. But once we turn to the back, and we look at the ingredients list, and I'll literally show this on camera, just so it, like, you see it. Here, I'll move this up. Look at this. What is this? Sunflower oil, canola oil, and peanut oil. And in addition, you have soy. A little bit down here, if you look, you have soy. This is not good. So we'll toss these out. Next, let's look at the almonds. So we have, almonds are really good. They taste pretty well. So, that's a healthy snack. But let's go ahead and look at the ingredients here. What do we see here? We see almond, vegetable oil, sunflower, cottonseed, and cottonseed, I'm not even talking about cottonseed. Cottonseed, oil that comes from cotton. So back in the day when they made a lot of cotton, they decided to make oils out of it. And they have to preheat the cotton super high because there's toxins. And in order to make it actually usable for the, consumption of human food, they have to do so much processing on this. And then if you move on, you have, sunflower, peanut, soybean oil. Soybean oil right here. What is this? So these are probably even worse than the previous nuts. So these are also going away. These, obviously, as you might tell, are pretty much the only nuts that I've found so far. The brand, and I'm not being sponsored, but the brand is the only one that actually, when you look at the ingredients, simply all you do is just look at the back. You don't even have to look at all this nutrition stuff. Just look at ingredients right here. So these have nothing. They just have, a few cashews, pistachios, may contain occasional shells or nut pieces. But sea salt, sunflower oil, that's probably not as bad as having, soy. This doesn't have soy, this doesn't have cotton oil, and none of the other stuff. So if you were to get any type of nuts, it would probably have to be this brand. My preferable choice, if I had to make with the nuts as a snack, I would have this brand. And they also make cashews, which have the same ingredients and pretty much the same thing.
As a matter of fact, it's probably going to be smarter to buy nuts in bulk because they're usually prepared with less seed oils. And yet, despite this, even these almonds contain stuff like kernel oils and a bunch of other ingredients. So please just take a look at the label. If you take a look at the label, you'll be set, I guarantee you.
Another amazing thing that I like to do is I like to get honey. So honey, it actually has the ability to increase your luteinizing hormone, which boosts testosterone, and it helps you to reduce estrogen overall. Because remember, the more testosterone you have, the less estrogen you have, and it helps men especially. So the places I like to get my honeys, either locally, and if you have some kind of like local farmers market, local foods market, this is where I love to get my honey. Let me show you inside.
That honey you find in a store, that's not honey, that's a goo. Go to some real store. Please don't buy honey if you do like that. Like, for example, here, there's a lot of honeys. I didn't even know garlic honey existed, but I guess it does. So even some of these are not the best choices of honey. But I like to usually go for something like this. So you have the glass bottle casing with local grown honey. So a lot of the honeys, they add sugar water. Now, of course, you can't prevent that and you can't really know how it is, but this is the best you can do. You have the raw Florida honey, or you have even better local honey with the honeycomb inside it.
Next, we have something that is the best meat. So a lot of the times when people told me, like, you gotta get, your body weight of protein a day, I thought, that's stupid. How am I ever gonna get that? That's insane. I'm like, you gotta eat meat. And what's crazy is I thought it's super expensive. In reality, it's not too bad. Look at this. This right here is a lean ground turkey. This turkey costs about $4. If you take a look, it's $4. And this is probably the cheapest type of meat you can get, which also helps you to stay healthy. So this pack, for example, it has 22 grams of protein per serving. There's 4 servings for this. So 22, if you do the math and you multiply it by 4, you get something around 100, which is pretty much, 100 grams of protein already just from this little pack. And if you eat 2 packs a day, then you're set. Unless you weigh over 200 pounds, you can add in a little more protein. The eggs which you eat in the morning should compensate for the rest of the protein. 2 packs of this, a little bit of eggs, you're ultimately overreached your protein goals and you're going to be building muscle super fast.
Quick tip, if you want to grill the meat, don't buy ground, buy a patty because it's all going to fall apart. If you really need to build some muscle, rotisserie chicken is the way to go. The cheapest type of protein chicken you can find anywhere. The only problem is I don't know what type of oils it's cooked on. But for example, a Mojo chicken has almost 2,000 calories for $6-7 max.
Chocolates are not good, but if you talk about oatmeal, oatmeal is something that's very good, especially as a snack. So on a carnivore diet, I usually, once again, I don't go insanely carnivore, but if I need some kind of carbohydrates to boost my performance, maybe because you can't build muscle on just, protein, so you need a little bit of something else. Oatmeal is great, so I mix it in with honey, but when you buy oatmeal, it is very important that you get very good quality oatmeal, because oatmeal, oftentimes, just like coffee and chocolate, has stuff like zeah, which is an estrogenic that has mold in it, so it's the mold estrogenic. So it's important to get good quality oatmeal. Now, Quaker's Oats is like the most popular, so I'm not necessarily sure that it has mold, but if it's some off-brand oatmeal, then you might want to double check on the validity of the zeah content in there. Salads are also not bad, but these are really bad salads because not only, plastic obviously, but the sauces that come with it have a ton of bad stuff, and you can do a lot more research on it, but basically, if you eat salads, it's better to eat something that's just plain.
Even leaves, however, as you might remember I mentioned earlier, get sprayed with pesticides, and usually because they have a thin skin, unlike avocados or something else, they usually absorb that stuff. So if you can, try to get organic leaves. They're $1 more expensive, but they will have a lot less chemicals and you'll be way more healthier. Worst comes to worst, you have very cheap frozen vegetables. Try to get as good organic as possible, once again. While our turkey is cooking, I would like to show you a good recipe I had my grandma make me in terms of making salads. Because remember, salads don't have to just include tomatoes, cucumbers, and some kind of spinach or lettuce. You can get very creative with salad. So what you do is you wash properly a carrot. Peel it. Cut the tips. Because I'm not a fan of dirty carrots, after the carrot has properly been cleaned, and only after that I take the metal piece and I do whatever the fuck this is called. Now that you have your base, you can add any other fruit. I like to do the apple, so I treat the apple the same way I treat the carrot. Here, you're welcome to have a choice of some kind of seasoning. You can put olive oil to put something else, or you could go ahead and put some honey, which I will do in this case. Finally, you're welcome to add raisins or nuts in your refreshing salad, and it's all done. I hope you enjoyed it.